Experts in politics understand this, but the Trump sycophants don't. Um, Experts have once again stated that there was no legal or constitutional basis for Donald Trump to simply be reinstated as squatter after a recent survey suggests that more than a quarter of Republicans believe it can happen um, at the end of this year. According to an Economist YouGov poll conducted between November 6th and November 9th, at least 28% of the people who identify as Republican believe that it is somewhat likely, very likely, that Trump will be reinstated as squatter before the end of 2021, which he will not be. The percentage of Republicans who believe that the man who lost the 2020 election will soon return to the White House is also increasing, with the previous Economist YouGov survey in October revealing 22% of Republicans consider it somewhat or very likely to happen, which it won't. Um, the poll's results appear to be based on the belief of the so-called big lie, which has been pushed by Trump, his sycophantic inbreds, and QAnon conspiracy theorists, that Joe Biden only won the last election because of widespread voter fraud, which wasn't the case, and that and that Trump, they claim, will return to his rightful place in the White House. Well, the rightful place wasn't for Trump anyway. The White House wasn't the rightful place for Trump anyway. Speaking to Newsweek, Barbara McQuaid, a University of Michigan law professor and former U.S. attorney in Detroit, explained that even if there was voter fraud, proof of voter fraud, which there wasn't, which it hasn't materialized more than a year since the 2020 election took place, and there's absolutely no mechanism in the law where it states that Trump could become squatter again. As former Attorney General William Barr noted, there was no widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election, and even if some new revelation somehow proved that Trump had lost the 2020 election because of fraud, the results would not reinstate Trump anyway. The only way that President Joe Biden could be removed from office under that scenario would that he would have to be impeached and convicted, and even then he would be succeeded by the Vice President Kamala Harris. If somehow she were also impeached and convicted, then we would follow the normal line of succession, which would be the next person in line, if Kamala Harris was impeached, would be President Nancy Pelosi. It does not put Trump back in office. Eugene Volokov, a law professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, had added that the Constitution is quite specific about how someone can be removed from office and have someone replace him. The obvious way is a new election, with Trump eligible to throw his hat in the ring again in 2024. But another way is that the vice president can succeed if the current president is impeached, dies, or otherwise becomes unable to carry out their role. But that would mean Vice President Harris and not Trump would become president, because Trump would not be president or squatter, basically, in that matter. And this is what Bolokov told Newsweek. There's no constitutionally provided mechanism for any entity, whether the courts, Congress, or anyone, simply reconsider the certified election results once a president is inaugurated. Bolokov did suggest one outlandish and highly improbable way in which Trump could return as squatter. And one theory, one can imagine Vice President Harris being impeached or resigning, and President Biden nominating and President Biden nominating Trump to replace her, which that won't happen. Trump being confirmed by both House under Section 2 of the 25th Amendment, and then the current President Biden resigning or being impeached, and then new Vice President and then new Vice Squatter Trump becoming squatter again, which hopefully that doesn't happen. But for obvious reasons, I doubt that Biden will go along with that. I wouldn't either. The MyPillow crackhead CEO Mike Lindell is one of the main orchestrators of the big lie that Trump will be reinstated as squatter, which he won't, setting out deadlines over the past year for it to happen, which have obviously failed, and basically it's obviously failed to come into fruition. The crackhead Lindell had previously claimed that Trump will return as squatter in August, and then the August has come and gone, and he still hasn't been reinstated, because the Supreme Court would also be impressed with his apparent proof of voter fraud, which they're not because he hasn't provided any evidence of it. And basically in such states as Arizona and Pennsylvania, that they would vote 9-0 in favor of Trump being declared the true winner of the last election, which no. The crackhead Lindell's prediction had no basis in constitutional law, and his August deadline fell during a 3-month recess for the Supreme Court. On November 2nd, a large crowd of QAnon sycophants who not only believed that Trump won the 2020 election, but had been battling a cabal of satanic pedophiles during his time in office, which wasn't true either, gathered in Dallas, Texas in the hope that John F. Kennedy would return from the dead and somehow announce that Trump is the true squatter. And that didn't happen because John F. Kennedy Jr. has been dead for over 20 years. So obviously that backfired on them. But if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you're notified when a new video comes out. And thanks for listening.